It is my great honor and pleasure to welcome everybody to Williams College. My name is Maud Mandel. I'm the 18th president of Williams College, and I'm in that capacity here to let you all know you're in great hands and give you a little reassurance before things kick off. I'm here with two of my colleagues, Leticia Haynes, the Vice President for Institutional Equity and Diversity, and Gretchen Long, who's the Dean of the College, but also a Professor of History here at Williams, which I am also. So I'm going to offer a few remarks just to orient you to the campus and the year ahead. Any of you who are dropping a second child off, and I know there's a couple of you who have heard this before. Every year, I was just saying to my colleagues, I review what I was going to say and think, should I say something different? And then I think, no, actually, this is what I need to say. So I'm more or less going to say what I say every year, which means you could have watched it online. But it's more fun in person. So, I want to reassuringly say that in reviewing it, I thought, no, this is what we need to talk about. This is what we need to hear. So, and the most important part of that is the warm welcome. As many of you may know, this is my 7th year here at Williams. That's different. I change that every year, by the way. I'm happy to report this is a really wonderful place with exceptional faculty, a committed alumni body, dedicated staff, tremendous resources and facilities, all of which are here to take care of and engage with the most important resource we have, which is the amazing students who join us every year and for whom we're so grateful. So thank you for sharing them with us. All in beautiful Williamstown. It's like this all year long. It's actually cooler this year, so it's a nice day for moving in and schlepping all those heavy boxes. So I'll start, as I do every year, with my question. How many of you are dropping off your first child at college? Oh, look at that. Take a look around, everyone. A lot of people. Okay. We know what that's like, some of us. So how many of you, this is going to make you an empty nester? And I know some it's the same if you have only one child. Right. Okay. Wonderful. Well, no matter whether it's 1, 2, 3, 7, wherever you are on your journey, I know there are a lot of emotions involved with this day. I can entirely empathize. My son graduated 2 years ago from his university, and my daughter's off to her junior year, so I have myself, not all that long ago, been sitting in a seat like that, listening to somebody like me, trying to hear if I could pick up any tips. And I have to say that even though I've been through all this before, and some of you have too, I know that it doesn't get necessarily easier as a parent, even as we're really excited and even thrilled for our students as we send them off on this journey. We're also maybe a little bit nervous. We wonder a little bit, who are these people who are going to be living with and supporting and educating your kids. Maybe you're feeling a little bit protective. Maybe you're wondering if they'll get the support they need, the nurturing they need to flourish so far away from their families and their friends and their communities. So really my primary message here today is to reassure you that the young person that you've come here with is in great hands and is at the beginning of a truly remarkable personal and intellectual adventure. Over the 4 years, there will certainly be highs and lows. There are moments when they will be the happiest you've ever seen them, and you will count your lucky stars that they are students at Williams College. And there are perhaps other moments when they'll be yearning for home and where they tell you things aren't going well and they're not feeling great. That's going to happen. That's life. But either way, their 4 years here will be formative in some incredibly crucial ways. First, they are going to expand their minds, every single one of them. Second, they will meet people who challenge their inherited assumptions about who they are and how the world operates, every single one of them. They will make lifelong friendships, every single one of them. It's one of the great gifts of Williams. They will sharpen their analytic capacities, their abilities to solve problems, their abilities to express themselves, every single one of them. And they will become more independent and able to fend for themselves, I promise, every single one of them. So I can actually guarantee that all of these things are going to happen, even if they happen in a very distinct way for each one of them. And I can guarantee it because this is an extraordinary institution driven by some core values that we really do wind into everything we do. And I think, you've been on this journey with them. Many of you will have attended tours. You've heard people like me speak at other institutions too, as they were trying to convince you to send your family member or offspring to their institution. And some of those are shared values. But it's really important to say them here because I do see them as something that really this institution is deeply committed to in its fiber. So first and most importantly, at Williams, we believe that the most versatile, practical, and enduring education we can offer students is a liberal arts education. And I'll just say again, versatile, practical, and enduring. Those are really important words selected carefully to say that we believe deeply in what we do. That is the mixing together the interdisciplinary study of the natural sciences, the social sciences, the arts, and very importantly, the humanities are woven together in a Williams education to prepare students for lifelong learning. We channel this interdisciplinary education in a way that seeks to inspire creativity and imagination, openness, empathy, intellectual curiosity, academic vigor, self-reflection. And we do this in this really intense environment where students are living and learning together, which really intensifies that outcome that might be true in any liberal arts education. We do it here where there isn't much else to do. There's not that many other distractions. And so students live and learn together in this intense way. Second, we see students as partners in the process of discovery. I think this is a really important value at Williams. Instead of merely consuming lessons, they learn to contribute to knowledge in an intimate, supportive environment, developing close intellectual and personal relationships with professors, with mentors, with staff members, and with peers, many times with alumni, learning from and with each other through free inquiry and the open exchange of ideas. We expect that most students here will be actively engaged in that partnership of creating knowledge. Thirdly, we place great emphasis on the learning that takes place outside of the classroom. As a faculty member myself, I like to believe that everything students learn happens in the classroom, but actually we know that isn't true. That's not the real, or at least the total value of this experience. We encourage their wide participation in and student authorship of the co-curriculum. So students are not just participating in outside of the classroom learning, they're actually running those activities very often, inventing them and engaging in them in ways that they learn from that work as well. As a result, we believe that students strengthen their minds, of course, but also their body and their spirits by participating in our very diverse program in athletics, the arts, discussions and debates, volunteer service in the local community and here at Williams, and all kinds of other opportunities and organization. And fourth, and you'll hear more about this from my colleagues, in all we do, we aim to be an inclusive learning community in which we aspire to create an area, a campus in which everyone can thrive, students and faculty and staff, families, alumni. Concern for and an interest in the needs and ideas of other people are both educational and intellectual imperatives at Williams that our students carry with them throughout their lives. I'll say a little bit more about this later, but I should say that many of these goals are aspirational, of course, and sometimes we're not always all our best selves. But the point is, it is a core value of the institutions, and the policies we enact are put in place in order to reach those highest aspirations. We achieve these goals really through one major investment at this college, which is we invest in people. We invest in a world-class faculty that is dedicated to modeling excellence through their own path-breaking research and scholarship. And our faculty-to-student ratio, which again I'll say a little more about later, but that 7-to-1 student-to-faculty ratio is an indication of that investment. and they are scholars and researchers, but also very dedicated educators. We invest in a talented and committed staff supporting a myriad of academic and non-academic programs here to often envy of peers in the way that we can provide support for students. And perhaps most importantly, the remarkable student body, the sheer diversity of which is an education unto itself in navigating and talking through difference in this small community. So this dynamic mixture comes together in really remarkable ways. It's always sort of a beautiful adventure to watch each year through the core structural commitment of the school to that student-teacher bond. And here I just want to say a little bit more about that 7-to-1 student-to-faculty ratio. It's not actually surprising, I'll just say as a sidebar, that in school rankings, the ratio of students to faculty is one of the things that those ranking bodies, I don't take those rankings terribly seriously, but there's some things they get right. And one of the things that they get right is schools which have a smaller ratio tend to be academically and intellectually more invigorating than other kinds of schools. And it's because the dedicated educators, who, as I noted, are often very well-respected scholars in their own right, pay tremendous attention to how your student is going to grow intellectually. And one of my pleasures in my role, I get to do lots of different things, but one of the things I do is that I sit on the committee that oversees tenure and promotion at Williams. And that means I read through all the files every single year of all of the faculty who are coming up through the ranks. And one of the things that has really struck me here that I like to share with parents and grandparents and family supporters is the incredible attention paid each year, year in and year out, by the more advanced faculty to the up-and-coming faculty around questions of teaching. They mentor each other, they evaluate each other, and they help each other hone their craft. It's a very big commitment of the Williams faculty, and I think you'll hear about it a lot when you just hear references to classes that your students are taking. And this just totally pays off. Every year the school newspaper, The Record, does a poll, actually every semester, of the things that students like best at Williams and the things that they don't like as much. It's common in school newspapers to find these kinds of personal satisfaction surveys. And this annual poll, or biannual poll, shows extraordinary student satisfaction with the faculty. I have to say, I find this moving, that every year, no matter what they think about everything else going on at Williams, and need I say that they're not always fond of the administration, but they are incredibly enthusiastic about the faculty, which is always the absolute #1 ranked satisfaction bar in semester in and semester out. I have yet to see a semester where that wasn't true. And that's just, as I say, it's very moving to me. And I think that's because it's so satisfying to teach here. Why is it so satisfying to teach here? Well, you know who you're dropping off, and just multiply that by a factor of the over 500 people in this class. These students, your students, are curious, engaged, really hardworking students who make learning dynamic. And this means that if you're a faculty person here, you learn from the students, even as the students are learning from the faculty. I teach from time to time here at Williams, and I have to say it is a great gift to teach in a place like this. You can teach your own research, so you're able to teach things that are very deeply meaningful to you as a scholar. But you're also doing it to people, teaching it to people who are actually really curious and engaged and working hard on the material that you're teaching. And so as an educator, you're learning from the conversation. And faculty, we are many things, but one of the things we are is lifelong learners. We're trying to spark lifelong learning in our students, but we're doing that because we ourselves have committed ourselves to a lifetime of lifelong learning. And so learning with and through our students is one of the benefits of teaching here. And even as we are hoping that what's true for us, we will be able to spark in them a curiosity and tools, very importantly, that will help them find the answers they seek, even if they're not sure initially where to look. So I say all this to say, I wanted to say a little bit more about the conceit of a liberal arts education. And I added this to my talk a few years ago because, first of all, I think that sometimes people don't know what a liberal arts education is really, and also don't quite understand how it all adds up. So I just want to say a little bit about sort of my understanding of how it all adds up. So the conceit of a liberal arts education is really as ambitious in scope as it is entirely unattainable. So sorry, but so after all, we seek to introduce students to the breadth of human knowledge. That's what the liberal arts seeks to do. We seek to introduce students to all that humans have accumulated in the enormous holdings of human accomplishment, but in the sense of knowledge, broadly defined, while also simultaneously providing them with some depth in some area or two in which they have a special interest. If you're ever wondering why you have both major requirements and divisional requirements, it's because we're trying to do both of those things. We're trying to introduce students to the breadth of human knowledge and that diversity of requirements over all of the social sciences and humanities, and the depth in a major. And we do this all in 32 courses. Remember I said unattainable? So of course, you can't possibly do either of those things with those two structural commitments. We approximately have 10 courses for a major. I don't know about you, most of you are experts in something. I don't know if you can think of the 10 courses you would give to somebody so that they would become an expert in that thing. No, it doesn't work. 10 courses won't do it. And then that's 20 left for the breadth of human knowledge. Right, you got my joke. I don't even need a punchline. So in fact, what is this all about? What are we seeking to achieve in what could be viewed as mere dabbling, as you see a list of 32 courses that don't seem to add up to much? And to tell you this, well, let me say one thing about the major, and then I'll try to answer the question I posed. What I would say about a major is that, in fact, it doesn't teach somebody how to be an expert in something. It teaches somebody what it would take to become an expert in something. And I'll use my story to talk about this a little more. So when I was in college, I was an English major, and there was a requirement in the department that I take a pre-modern, how they defined it then, a pre-modern course, something that wasn't in modern English literature. I didn't want to because I was really focused on modern theater as the thing that I was studying, but I had to. And the only one that fit in my class was Milton. I had never read any Milton. I wasn't interested in Milton, and I was sort of annoyed I had to take the class. But I took the class, and I spent 13 weeks or 14 weeks, whatever it was there, reading nothing but Milton, things Milton had written, things had been written about Milton, and I had this incredible sort of realization about 11 and a half weeks into this class, which was that I had done nothing but immerse myself in this material, and that actually I had read hardly anything that Milton had written, and virtually less, much, much less, of what had been written about Milton. And it was this moment of incredible humility, of recognition of how little I knew. I'd come to college thinking I was pretty smart. And I went away still thinking I was smart, but realizing how ignorant I was. It was a moment of profound humility. And one of the things I really think that the liberal arts is trying to teach students is to be humble in the face of what we don't know, to learn how to ask questions, to seek information, while always recognizing that we have a lot of something I would call opinions. And opinions can be well-educated opinions, but they are not necessarily deep knowledge. And ideally, when this works the way it's supposed to, that is one of the lessons we are trying to teach our students. In fact, how little they know, and what are the tools in order to continue to learn, even when they're not in the classroom. But we have other goals, too, which supplement that important goal. We want them to develop a series of competencies in key areas that they can take them with them no matter where they go. Writing, researching, problem solving, data analysis, communication skills. And we know in 4 years they're not going to go from knowing nothing about those things to knowing everything. They started having some education and all of those things. This is like a high-octane 4 years experience to get much better at those transferable competencies. And it's why I say a liberal arts degree is practical, because in fact there is no profession where you don't need to know how to do research, no profession where you don't need to know how to write, solve problems, analyze data. And so providing them with those tools and the unanswered questions empowers them to go do that no matter what they do next, which almost all of them are going to end up doing something that hasn't even been invented yet, right? Like the world's moving that quickly. So to have the skills to learn and to take those transferable skills, that's the gift you're giving them by leaving them here. We also try to teach them to follow their instincts, to test their assumptions, to challenge themselves, to go above and beyond what they thought was possible, and to back up their claims with evidence. That's really the nub of the education here. We hope that you will also encourage them to embrace their independence. Williams offers a lot of opportunities for them to strike out on their own. We hope you will encourage them to take intellectual risks. We also hope, and this is maybe the most important sentence I'm going to say to you as parents or grandparents or caregivers, we encourage you to encourage them to solve their own problems. This is very hard for parents, I know, but they're launching off into this moment of personal exploration, and they will hit stumbling blocks. And we encourage you in those moments to listen to them and give them good advice and then send them to solve their own problems. It's not always going to work. That's an important lesson too. That is a great thing that parents can do. You will be surprised, I hope, by the results of these 4 years. I hope you'll be pleased. Sometimes, however, you may also be frustrated, as your children may opt not to take your advice about this or that thing. That's never happened before, I know, but now they might choose not to. We hope you'll be understanding in those moments and accepting, as hard as that may sometimes be, that they're now on their own intellectual journey that's theirs and not yours. If they don't surprise you, they actually won't have been fully adventurous or taken complete advantage of all of this that this amazing institution has to offer them. So I hope they do surprise you. And I hope that's really a gift for you. By the way, I'll say as an aside, one thing I always say to parents is the next time you see them, family weekend, Thanksgiving, the winter holiday, whenever you next have the opportunity to spend a little bit of time, it could be on the phone or Zoom or whatever, however you connect, ask them how they're doing, sure. That, you know what, you get an answer to that question, right? How are you doing? Ask them what they're reading in class. Ask them to tell you about a book that they've read in class, or an essay, or a problem set. We did this with our son his first semester at college, and he stopped talking 45 minutes later. It was just an amazing experience. So I really encourage you to poke at that one as a really interesting dinner time topic. I've talked a lot about the classroom, just a little bit about a word about learning outside the classroom. One of the greatest sources of education on this campus, as I have hinted towards already, is what they learn from each other. This is an exceptionally diverse campus in every dimension: race, ethnicity, nationality, class, sexual orientation, regional type of high school, you name it. It's an incredible resource for learning for one another. I'd encourage you not to be terribly worried about or misled by what you read in the news. Campuses are among the places where the most robust conversations across differences are taking place. We struggle with this as a society. Campuses do it better than most places. That doesn't mean we don't have hard moments. We sometimes disagree with each other. I think it was shocking sometimes last year for folks to understand how much we sometimes disagree with each other. And sometimes when people disagree with each other, they get angry and they say things that other people don't like. That's part of what disagreeing is about. We like to try to teach students how to do it in the most respectful way possible while building a community together. It's aspirational, as it is for all of us. I'm sure you never get mad at anybody or say anything you want to take back, but it is something that we are continually trying to work on with the community as well, and again, as lifelong learners. And this provides us with great opportunities to think about how we speak to each other, but also how we listen and learn. So in closing, I hope what you're hearing from me is that the next 4 years is an adventure, and that your role in the adventure, we hope, is to encourage them to ask for help. I will say this, I think Gretchen will say this too, our most successful students at Williams are not the ones that scored the best on their standardized tests or took the most AP courses. Our most successful students at Williams are students who ask for help when they need it. There's tons of resources here. Students who ask for help can find help, and that is the ones who are likely to get the most out of this experience. So encourage them to ask for help, encourage them to take intellectual risks and leaps, encourage them to reach out to the many resources, faculty, and other grown-ups here who are here entirely to accompany them on this journey. Please encourage them to have fun and take care of themselves, to sleep, to exercise, and to eat well. Parents sometimes forget about that when they're worrying about, I don't know, the biology test or something. Actually, they will do better in their academic work if they are taking care of themselves. They're not always great at that. And then my parting advice, which I give every year, so some of you will have heard this before, but it bears repeating. When my mother dropped me at college many years ago, she drove back home. I was in school in Ohio. She drove back home to New Jersey and went up to the bedroom where I had been raised and put on the music box that she used to put on for me when I was a little kid every night before I went to bed. My advice to you, don't do that. Definitely don't do that. Go to the movies. That's what you should do. And with that, I am going to pass the microphone to my colleague, Leticia Haynes. Thank you.
Thanks, Maud. Good afternoon and welcome, parents, guardians, families, and friends. Again, my name is Leticia Smith-Evans Haynes, and I'm Vice President for Institutional Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion here at the college. I'm also a proud alumna of Williams, and this is my 10th year serving in this role. Prior to returning to the college, I worked as an educator, a lawyer, a policy advisor, and did some other things as well. Williams has been a place at which its community members frequently think about where we've been, where we are, and where we want to be. That means that our students, faculty, staff, and alum all take time to reflect and think about what's working well and what we ought to consider changing. And it was for that reason that when offered the opportunity to return to the college to serve in my current role, I didn't hesitate to do so. I wanted to give back to Williams because it's a place where everyone, regardless of who they are, may thrive as they live, they learn, and they work. As Vice President, I work strategically with constituents on and off campus to ensure a diverse, equitable, and inclusive community. I help guide efforts to conceptualize, define, assess, nurture, and cultivate diversity as an institutional and educational resource and priority. Every person in the Office of Institutional Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion works to ensure that all students, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation, religion, economic or ability status, first generation or veteran status, have access to all of the things that Williams has to offer and all of its resources. And we involve the college community as we support productive communication as well. I'm going to give you a few examples of how we support constituents here. The first I'll mention is the Davis Center. And the Davis Center advances broad campus engagement with complex issues of identity, history, and cultures as they affect intellectual, creative, and social life here. And that team also facilitates collaboration, dialogue, and explorations for social change to create inclusive learning environments and living environments in our community. Second is the Office of Pathways for Inclusive Excellence, and that office aims to ensure that students thrive academically at Williams and beyond through opportunities and programs such as research fellowships that work to eradicate disparities in education. And the office also serves to connect students to academic and research opportunities both on and off the campus that are national opportunities and sometimes global opportunities. Third, we encourage productive communication. We are diligent about fostering both inter and intragroup dialogue and integrating restorative practices and helping to resolve conflict when it arises. These efforts center appreciation for individuals' identities and how their identities affect their experiences, both on this campus and beyond. Fourth, we prioritize lifelong learning. We have a suite of workshops for campus constituents and the surrounding communities that we are a part of. And our community engagement fellows are students who are involved in both the development of peer education programs and the delivery of such programs to their fellow students. We're thrilled to have a new space this year to support campus community to support the campus community in many of the efforts that I just mentioned. It's the new Davis Center building, and it's a learning, teaching, and working space that's ripe with history. It's beautiful. The history is expressed both in the structure itself and also the building and what it does and the programs. That's located in Morley Circle, which is adjacent or behind Spring Street. If you haven't seen it yet, please feel free to stop by. And you should know that we will always support the members of our community in whatever way is necessary and really in whatever way is possible. We won't always agree on how we're able to do that, but just know that we will do our best to do so. We recognize that there are many different people here that make up Williams, and that is the beauty of this place. So please don't have any doubt that if your child needs anything, our doors and inboxes are open, our phones are never on silent, and in the most wonderful Williams way, everyone here works closely together and diligently to ensure that our students have an optimal experience. So throughout their tenure at the college, they will engage in critical discourse, thoughtful discourse, and respectful discourse. There's no question that some of that discourse will touch on issues of identity and culture, equity, and inclusion. And it's important to share that we're intentional about encouraging and supporting all. That doesn't mean that we have everything figured out, but it does mean that we ask questions. What do you need? How can we help you? How are you feeling? Are you enjoying your time inside and outside of the classroom? We engage all members of our community, and we work hard to make sure everyone here is included, heard, and listened to. Doing so means that as we develop programming and coordinate curricular, co-curricular, and extracurricular activities to be more inclusive, we have his story, her story, and their story and experiences as powerful guides. It follows that Williams continues to embrace strategic efforts to foster learning environments that are diverse. As I close, I want to add that I do not assume that we all share the same understanding and definition of diversity. When I say diversity, know that Williams strives for identity diversity, what one may look like, and cognitive diversity, how one may think. At Williams, we believe that diversity and exceptional go hand in hand, and a great college requires exceptional people, perspectives, and problem solving. A great college benefits from including people with diverse perspectives. Differences in identity, race, gender identity, ethnicity, religion, you name it, physical ability, sexual orientation, economic status, the list may go on, correlate with cognitive diversity. Over the coming weeks, as a first-year class joins this community, it comes to life. The people behind the papers, the essays, the applications are now a part of the Williams family. Their presence will be seen and felt on and off this campus and in our communities. We know that each member of this class is unique and brings with them diversity in thought and being, and for that, we are extremely grateful to them and to you. Once again, welcome to Williams. I hope you enjoy your visit.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gretchen Long. I'm a member of the history department here at Williams, and I'm currently also the dean of the college. So I want to echo my colleagues here in just really welcoming you here to our campus. I'm so grateful it's not like broiling hot or pouring rain. So thank you for bringing this nice weather with you. I know probably, and that's from personal experience, you're probably full of like hope and excitement and fear and this like worriedness, but you're not supposed to be that worried as you really are. It's like a complicated day when you say goodbye to your child to go off to college. It really is, or your grandchild or your sibling or the young person who you've nurtured. And we have all those relationships among us today, and I'm grateful for all of them. I really want to thank you for supporting and sending us these people who we're going to get to know. I know so much love and patience has gotten you to this point, and we're just thrilled to have them here, and we can't wait to get to know them better. As Leticia alluded to, they've just been applications, and I don't read those, and we don't read those, so we just can't wait to sort of have embodied first-year people here, because we've been thinking about them for a long time. So you might wonder what these wonderful people are doing, your wonderful people, like right now. So I'll tell you what they're supposed to be doing. So they are settling into their entries, which I hope you had a chance to take a look at where they're going to be living. And they're probably, I would bet good money, feeling a little nervous, which is totally fine. They are all meeting together. The introverts are there, the extroverts are there, the athletes, the artists, the et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, every category. They're JAs, junior advisors, our upper class students, they're all juniors, and they have spent quite a bit of time, both in the last couple weeks and in the spring, being trained by various campus partners about welcoming and supporting your students, all for this whole year, but particularly in these first couple weeks. So they're welcoming them, they're probably playing silly games and trying to calm everyone down before the goodbye and et cetera. So we know that the students come here with such a richness of character, and a lot of that does come from the deep connection to their families and their home communities, which we're now removing them, most of them, from. We do have some local kids here too. And Williams is such a better place, I just want to tell you, because of the ways that your families and your communities, your experiences, the students' traditions, they bring all that to us. And that really helps build this kind of constellation that we call Williams, and hangs together largely because of what our students bring to us. So again, that's aspirational, but it really does kind of happen. So I want to talk a little bit about problems, okay? Challenges, troubles, what to do if you're really worried or your student feels like they're really in trouble. So our campus safety and security department, they are open all the time, 24 hours a day. There is someone who will answer the phone. The phone number is 413-597-4444, okay? 413-597-4444. The students know this. It's on various stickers in various bathrooms. I think they have it memorized. The campus safety officers here are they make it a priority to be friendly and approachable. A lot of them know a lot of students by name. A lot of our officers have children of their own who've gone off to college. Some have gone here to Williams, so they're very familiar with the experience. They've seen a lot of first-year students. They know what it's like to be away from home. And they've already engaged with some of your students because a number of your students, I'm sure not your child, has already locked themselves out of their room and called that number, and someone has come and let them in. I actually was chatting this morning with campus safety, and yes, it's happened. So, and no biggie. I'm not going to name any names. But campus safety is always the right call, the right first call for an emergency. Their dispatchers can find someone from health services, someone from mental health services, the dean on call. That's the number when something really is happening. That is the number to call, or 911 if the house is afire or what have you. But it's true for our students, and it's also true for you. If you are really worried about the safety of your child, that is the number I would encourage you to call. And if it's an immediate difficulty, okay? It's not like, oh, their Amazon package didn't arrive, like that, not that, but like the real things, okay? So that's the number to start with. For non-emergencies, our college website, as you sort of crawl around it, has so much information. Graduation requirements, the academic calendar, built out for a couple of years. So take a look at the website because it really has a ton of information. Sickness and health. If your student gets sick, we have a health center, which is down the bottom of Spring Street. They have drop-in hours on Mondays and Thursdays. All of this is on the web page. Students can also make appointments through the health portal, which they will learn how to do in the next couple days. If your student has like an ongoing health concern, a chronic condition, or a complicated medication, they can go make an appointment, make an introductory appointment, and talk with someone about whatever it is. And the wonderful staff there can help make a plan for that. For people whose students are athletes, the staff there works very closely with the athletic trainers in our athletics department to make sure everyone is safe and healthy and tip-top. So that's a nice partnership that we have. Sort of next door-ish to the health center is the Office of Integrative Wellbeing Services, and that's our mental health support. Counseling and therapy that happens both in person and online, and if they would prefer completely remote your students, they can do that. If they prefer a texting relationship with a therapist, they can do that through a variety of platforms. And that can be for long-term counseling or short-term. We don't have a waiting list. We have crisis appointments every weekday if you're really in a situation. We also have prescribers on staff. So if your student needs a prescription, that's something we can also work with. Both that center and the health center are free of charge for our students, so that should not be a concern if they need help of any kind. Okay, so that's sort of like some body and mind stuff. And the phone number, okay. So as I said earlier, I am in the history department, and I want to talk a little bit about academics. Maud and Leticia both have. So Williams is a highly selective college, as you know, and our students have done really well in high school. I mean, just amazing. And we're thrilled to have them here. However, quite intentionally, college is a step up. We want it to be a challenge, and we want it to be not impossible, but we want to be waking up the brain all the time. And many of our students here have not reached out for help before, extra help, ever, in their, or maybe like once or twice, and they remember that one time they didn't get it. It's not really extra help here. We really expect our students to reach out to the academic resources, most of all to their faculty who can point them where they might need to go. So their faculty are the first step, and I'm faculty here. People who don't like undergraduate students, like academics who don't like undergraduate students, and there are people like that, they don't teach here. It's not a good place for them. And you do learn that very quickly, when you're here. So really, we expect to see students in our offices, in labs. That is something that we like to do. And after class, professors answer emails. So if your student has a question, if they're struggling with something, or if they're excited about something, if they just realize they don't know anything about Milton, even they've been reading Milton for 10 weeks, they could write that to their professor. I think someone would be really happy to hear that remarkable insight. So do encourage them to get to know their faculty in whatever they take. Also, we have a sort of formal structure of academic resources outside the classroom. There's a writing skills workshop, and there's sort of general tutoring for really every subject. It's on the 4th floor, Sawyer, peer academic support. It has wonderful staff, professional staff who run it. There's drop-in hours, and there's group study sessions for some of our more popular courses where there are lots of sections. So they have a terrific website. They can make an appointment or they can drop in, but I really do recommend it. And the Writing Center will help not just with writing for your classes. If you're applying for a fellowship or you're applying for they will help with that. So it's really a sort of all-round place. I also encourage you to not today, but in the next year or two, remind your students about the Office of Fellowships and Study Away. We have a really robust support and opportunity for students to go abroad, usually during their third year, but they can go even in their second year, particularly to our Mystic program in Mystic, Connecticut for coastal studies. And that office is welcoming. It's not, the applications, we have staff there who will help with those applications and help them explore. Do they want to go somewhere where they're going to use that foreign language? Can they not stand that idea? There's a lot of opportunities. And the same for fellowships, which aren't all postgraduate. There are some fellowships that can happen over a summer. And so those are things that your student might want to think about in the next, not today, but someday soon. Maud and Leticia also both alluded to this, but one thing we're really encouraging our students to learn, and they gotta learn it, is independence. We want our students, and we all want our children to be resilient and independent, and we know that it's so important, but we wanna help. We wanna oh my God, they don't know how to do this, and I forgot to show them how to use the washing machine right, and it's all, but they'll learn. Don't worry. One change, though, when they're here is that most of our students are 18 or older or about to turn 18. They own their own information. And so if you call and you want to know if they missed that history lecture or how they did on their biology lab report, we're actually not allowed to tell you that. Ask them and encourage as much open communication as you can, but we cannot release stuff. Or if they went to the health center, we can't. So ask them how things are going. And there will be bumps in the road for them. How could there not be, wherever they were? When you're 18, 19, there are bumps in the road, and I'm sure we all made decisions we wish we hadn't made at that age, and we made some good decisions too, but that is part of the journey. And we are going to be here and support them through their decisions, good and bad. So that's all part of it. So grappling with those choices is just part of being this age and becoming, a functioning and responsible adult, which is what we want at the end of all this. So I was not an English major, but I'm going to recite a little bit from a poem by William Blake. He wrote it in 1794. It goes, "My mother groaned, my father wept. Into the dangerous world I leapt, helpless, naked, piping loud, like a fiend hid in a cloud." So today's not as bad as that, But I think a fiend hid in a cloud is just a great description of a newborn baby and even of an adolescent. So off you go. I can't tell you every single day is going to be absolutely perfect, but I will say we're off to a great start, and we're so excited to have your people here. Can't wait to get to know them. I'll be around for a little bit after this outside. I'm happy to shake your hand and say anything soothing that I can. And safe travels home. Thank you all so much.
So you might have noticed in the schedule, but there's a reception for those of you who are interested to come say hello on the President's Lawn now, starting at 2:30, and I'll be over there as well. So look forward to meeting some of you then. Thanks. Have a great day.